Episode 95. The Bribe. Shantanu counted the money in his pocket and was thrilled to discover that he could offer a cup of tea and a maskaban to all his 8 friends. Though the treat was a modest one, yet his friends were really enjoying it. They had all gathered to celebrate Shantanu's 16th birthday. Suhana, Kapil, and even Anna, the tea stall owner, joined the celebrations. And then suddenly, Shantanu's mood turned sour and he went totally quiet. He turned his back towards a vegetable vendor who had just come in. The vendor parked his wheelbarrow on the pavement, ordered a cup of tea, took out a plastic tiffin box from below a pile of coriander leaves, and began to have his evening snack, totally ignoring the group of boisterous teenagers who were busy in their own celebrations. Only Suhana noticed that it was only after the vegetable vendor left with his wheelbarrow that Shantanu visibly relaxed and became his old self again. When Shantanu reached home, he was expecting his father to confront him. But Anirudh didn't say anything at all. He quietly entered the house, went to the small mandir in the hall, took out a wad of notes, crumpled, stained, and some even folded carelessly, and put them all behind a large Ganpati frame. He entered the adjoining kitchenette, wordlessly pulled out a large aluminium plate, and took out some rice, dal, and curry. Anirudh sat down on the floor of the kitchenette and began to eat. Shantanu filled a glass of water and placed it next to his father. Anirudh nodded his head as a thank you gesture and began to chew his food. Shantanu suddenly felt suffocated. He stepped out of the house. The narrow alleyway in which their house was located was smelly, chaotic, and very noisy. But Shantanu felt it was better than the eerie silence of the house. The orderly came running into the drawing room. "Sahab aa gaye," he announced loudly. Asha and her husband got up to greet Anirudh. The latter's face darkened the moment he saw these two. "अब क्या हो गया साहिल? फिर से कोई गड़बड़ कर दी?" Anirudh almost shouted. Asha folded up within herself and Sahil's smile vanished. This was the 3rd time in a month that Sahil had come down to ask for money. Anirudh had bailed out Sahil on many occasions, but Sahil somehow always invested impulsively, ending up in huge debts time and again. The debt this time was a staggering 30 lakhs. The next few months remained hazy in Anirudh's memory. Things happened just too fast. In Ghanshyam Prasad's godown, a huge cache of narcotics was found. Anirudh negotiated with Prasad and demanded 30 lakhs to keep quiet about it. That night, the entire house woke up because of the doorbell ringing incessantly. An ACB team burst into the house. They recovered the 30 lakhs from the locker. Anirudh's suspension followed immediately after the raid. Then the forceful vacating from the government flat, the disgrace, the shame, the endless rounds to lawyers' offices, court dates getting delayed all the time, the savings getting depleted day by day, Shantanu's expulsion from the school, Sumitra selling off her jewelry to pay the doctor's fees when Ananya caught jaundice. Anirudh remained a mute spectator to all of this. With each passing day, it became increasingly difficult for the family to live in the city. Sumitra began to work in a school, but she was so poorly underpaid that she left it in disgust one day. Anirudh couldn't get any employment at all because his reputation reached the employers before he could. When the family relocated to another city, It came as a huge relief to Anirudh that no one knew him or his shameful past. Sumitra was shocked when Anirudh first told her that he had taken up the help of Sikandar and would now sell vegetables on a wheelbarrow. But when Sahil and Asha also stopped giving money to them, Sumitra buried her shock under the rug and quietly began to help Anirudh in loading the vegetables every morning. But it wasn't easy to shake off the shadows of the past glory and prosperity. Gone were the quiet, dignified, and educated neighbors, to be replaced by loud, raucous, abusive ones who would shout even for the most routine conversations. Noise, smell, cramped space, and a constant feeling of claustrophobia became the order of the day. Anirudh took out a cigarette and lighted it up. It was the only luxury that he had not been able to give up. The small bridge across the canal was almost deserted now, as it was close to midnight. Anirudh perched on the railing and looked up at the sky. He had now got used to the pain in his hands and feet by pushing the heavy wheelbarrow loaded fully with vegetables, especially in the mornings. As he waited for Sachin to join him, Anirudh felt that he was living a scene straight out of O. Henry's story after 20 years. I didn't want to meet you all these years for so many reasons, Sachin. First of all, of course, I didn't want you to see me like this, in this condition. I remember the last time you had come from the US. We had gone to China House and we had celebrated our reunion so grandly. The only grandeur that I can show today is offer you this cigarette. A reminder of our yesteryears. My yesteryears. A rich habit? Well, I couldn't give up on this, Sachin. Why I didn't tell you about my condition? Well, क्या बताता मैं? Yahi, that I was thrown out of my job, jailed for a couple of years, and then had to relocate to this city, out of shame and out of disgrace. And that now for a living I push a wheelbarrow and sell vegetables? No, Sachin. I didn't want to keep any reminders of my past around me, either of the glorious yesteryears or the painful last few years. You know what? Sometimes I wonder at my own strength and resilience. Someone who wouldn't eat lunch or dinner without at least 2 sabzis, dal with a lot of ghee, chutney and papad, and who would go out to eat at least once a week in the dazzling restaurants of the mega city. Today eats just a few chapatis with a single sabzi. Even the humble dal, it's a luxury for us now. Sumitra and the children have also gone through hell along with me. Leaving that spacious government flat, that lovely school, they have had to cramp up in these squalid quarters. God knows, Sachin, what and how are the children studying in that government school. I haven't ever dared to ask how are the teachers or do they like attending school, and who are their friends. I already know the answers, don't I? Little Ananya has very little idea of the past glorious life. She was just 3 when all of this happened. But Shantanu was 10, Sachin, and he knew what a luxurious life we had lived till then. He has withdrawn into himself, just like I have. I'm sure he still remembers those fantastic Sundays when we would go to the MG grounds to play cricket the entire morning. Then go to Anna's food truck and gorge on South Indian food, followed by ice creams and juices and cupcakes. We used to return back by almost 4 p.m. in the evening, covered with dust and dirt from head to foot. I was so hopeful that Shantanu will develop into a promising young cricketer. But the only promise life keeps with him is delivering vegetables to 3 hostels every morning and accompanying me to buy a stock of vegetables thrice a week. And yet, Sachin, none of these 3 have really lived like a king the way I did. Customs department कांपता था मेरे नाम से. Today, when I push my wheelbarrow through the gates of the government officers' quarters, and the ladies there begin to bargain with me for a couple of coins, I really feel like screaming at them that I used to be a resident of such quarters just a little while ago. Yes, I did think more than once to end my life. Once in the dead of the night, I even walked to the railway tracks. But then somehow I controlled my anger, my depression, and my feeling that I'm such a useless husband and father. I remembered their faces, Sachin. They are going through a very bad time, with no surety that things are going to improve one day. But what will happen to them if I'm not around? Things will become even worse. That guard at the Anganwadi will pounce on Sumitra. And Shantanu is just 16, too young to take responsibility of his mother and sister. He will not be able to complete his education and end up either being a street thug or a laborer, or will push this same wheelbarrow all his life. The rascals who live in our street will not spare my little Ananya. I know they salivate at her growing beauty each time she goes to school or to her tuitions. At least my presence is keeping those bloodhounds at bay. नहीं, no Sachin. अब कुछ नहीं हो सकता. Let my life be what it is. Let me remember that life robbed me totally for a bribe of 30 lakhs. No, I don't blame Alka or Sahil. Neither for pressurizing me into arranging that huge amount for them, for which I took that bribe, nor for making that final call to refuse any further monetary help. No, don't ask me to take you home either, Sachin. I don't want you to meet anyone or see my one-room house. No, I don't need any help, Sachin. I know you can get me a job in your company here in Mumbai. But sooner or later my past will catch up. And I can't face another round of disgrace and shame. But yes, you can do me a big favor. Stop trying to reach out to me. I'm glad that you haven't shared my number or whereabouts with all our other friends. I'm just waiting for Shantanu to grow up and stand on his 2 feet, and for little Ananya to finish her schooling. After that, I will decide what to do with my life. And Anirudh vanished into the dark night without even saying a goodbye to his childhood friend.